EU interior ministers met on Monday to discuss the ongoing refugee crisis, but more specifically, they talked about how tens of thousands of refugees will be in great danger as winter closes in. EU ministers are under a lot of pressure to deliver on the promises that they keep making as the migrant surge continues, with absolutely no signs of any letting up. Margaret, speaking in Brussels, Luxembourg's foreign minister, Jean Asselborn, he said this: "The European Union must do everything to avoid a catastrophe as winter closes in. We cannot let people die from the cold in the Balkans." Almost 800,000 people have made their way to Europe this year alone with boats crossing the Mediterranean. Countless others have made that perilous trek walking. Thousands are expected to come this winter. So, you know, I've experienced Eastern European winters. I'm sure you have too. Going downstairs, hailing a taxi, you feel like you're going to die, let alone walking for miles with children, with all your belongings, staying at borders for hours. You don't know how long you're going to stay there. A lot of the times with absolutely no shelter. We're talking about Eastern Europe. A lot of these countries are not in the EU. Macedonia, Serbia, for example. They don't have necessary infrastructure to support their own people, let alone being inundated with hundreds of thousands of migrants who are walking, making their way through there. So it's very difficult. And the EU has been criticized for not doing enough. I mean, they've done a lot, but they don't oftentimes follow up on a lot of promises they're making. And now that winter's rolling around, so many people are going to be in danger of things like hypothermia and other complications that arise from being out in the cold unprotected like this.
People don't realize what a major issue this is. I know that you lived or visited Eastern Europe. I lived in Russia myself. The temperatures, when they drop, they become lethal for a lot of people unless you have a multi-layered form of protection. I know witnessing bars on stairwells because homeless people and people outside, they would be so cold they would be afraid that they would go in and start fires just to warm up. So bars were everywhere because of that reason. So we're talking about a really serious issue, and this influx of people, 800,000 people potentially freezing to death, no small number, and they need to act quickly. I like that they're meeting. They realize that this is happening, but we're talking about November already. These temperatures are beginning to plummet, and this time next month we're talking about severely lower than they are right now.
Yeah, I mean, I talked about, you know, briefly the promises that the EU's made that they haven't exactly followed up on. I have a few examples. Now, Slovenia, not long ago, they asked for 400 police officers to be sent from the EU to help them out within a week because they really needed it. Almost 3 weeks later, less than half of that was pledged. So it not only took them 3 times as long as what they'd asked for, but they only got half of the numbers that they asked for. And then again, there's that so-called relocation plan that we're seeing. 160,000 refugees in Greece and Italy who are waiting to be resettled. So far, barely 100 have been moved, so they seem to be moving people 1, 2, 3 at a time, families. So again, they're not moving quickly enough, and now that there seems to be this deadline with winter coming around, they seem to be stepping it up and really taking things very, very seriously. They have to. Like you said, these people are going to be in danger, and it adds a whole other dimension to this already catastrophic situation.
And fleeing with the clothes on their back, you know, not equipped to handle lethal temperatures like this.
Right, and that's why these summits are important, right? Because, you know, we have to make sure that the EU follows up on the promises that they're making. So I think it's important for the media to talk about these kinds of things.